Okay.
All right, hello, ladies and germs.
Yeah, this is it. You're not supposed to. It's not a polite phrase anymore.
Germs.
Yeah.
Well, that was what I was doing.
Inappropriate.
Kind of a play on words
Too
there.
soon. It's too soon. Welcome. Today is day 9.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Day 9.
What is it? Yeah, okay. Okay, what are we wearing? Prod again. Good, excellent. I'm Graham.
I'm Ashkan. This is us in bathrobes from our house.
And we're going to be doling out some float wisdom. Today, we're talking about reaching out to the press. Talking to the media while you're closed.
Someone's got to do it.
I recommend just making up science facts and sending them in, see what you can get published. They're pretty much accepting anything these days, and stuff is changing so quickly. They don't have time to fact check that.
There's no more fact checking.
You're probably a scientist. If you put it down in writing, it's true. Anything else? Or
I think that about wraps it up. Let us know if you have any questions. And
Yep, check the feed here. No, right? So there's a few different reasons that you might want to reach out to the press while you're closed. Obviously, you're not going to be able to focus as much on your regular operations. Your shop is probably closed down. Your staff might be totally laid off. But journalism is still happening. People are still putting out blogs. People are still putting out newspapers. People are even more so. Like, I've been getting updates from the New York Times, who I don't even subscribe to every single day via email. So I feel like news is really still trying to, do its news thing and be out there. And you might as well be a part of it. So that's one. It exists. You can, in fact, still get articles written about your float center and kind of prime the pumps for customers once you reopen.
yeah, there's a lot going on right now, and I mean, you're kind of part of the story, right? Like, there is some amount of interest in the idea of what's going on with small businesses or how specific industries are responding to this, or any sort of insights from a million different angles about what's actually going on in the world right now.
And there's also a lot more important stuff to write about probably than your float center out there, being realistic. So even if you kind of go through this process and you're trying to get press and, wrangle an article, even if it doesn't happen now or in the next couple months, you're still kind of getting those people used to hearing your name and getting them ready. And we've definitely found, and, I'm sure that every PR agent in the entire world will say that, getting successful press is more about relationships and about kind of popping onto people's radar on a regular basis so that they're not just seeing some random small business email them out of the blue, which is really easy to kind of just pass on. So again, even if you don't get an article, it's still worthwhile to consider during this time reaching out to the press, and it'll make it probably easier to get one written after things kind of calm down a little bit and news cycles return to normal.
And feel free to make stuff up, if it bleeds, it leads, is what they keep saying. So maybe the float tanks have some new disease that is incubating inside of them that is actually turning birds into zombie birds. That's just one idea. That's one of many ideas that you could put out there.
We'll call that Plan B. If you're listening out there, put taking notes, put a big Plan B on that one.
Zombie bird.
We'll work a little bit on Plan A first. Maybe just put that in our back pocket. One other thing too that's going to be nice about doing the marketing and outreach now is that when you're getting a press kit ready, that's just an asset and a template that'll be useful pretty much any time. Next time you reach out to the press, even though your basic story or your angle might change, having that press kit with images and just the general layout and what you want on there is going to save you a bunch of time anyway. So this is just a great marketing project to work on separate again from even the press side immediately.
And you might notice that you have a lot of time on your hands right now. And
that might be why you're watching us.
Yeah, and this is again a great way to take advantage of the fact that you have time and you want to keep working on your business. And even if you make a press kit that has nothing to do with what's going on right now, and you don't even try to do any PR reach out right now, this is still just a good time to spend some of your free hours putting that together for the future.
Yep. Okay, so those are reasons that you should even think about following our advice today. If you do decide that this is a good idea and you want to reach out and get press, here's some general strategies which have worked well for us and for other float centers over the years. One is to think about whether you're just writing a press release or doing a full-blown press kit. And a press release is typically going to be around like 300 to 350 words, relatively short, and often just something that people can copy-paste into their publication and get some news out there, get the gist of it, and then reach out to you for more if they want it. Like you're never writing out like a 2 to 3 page article or like a cover piece and then sending that into your newspaper and hoping they pick that up. It's always this short blurb. So that's a press release. And then a press kit is just kind of this bigger file that contains, as part of it, the press release, but might also have some images. For float tanks, I always like to include a section on science facts about floating, like what we actually know about the science of floating, just to kind of show to the journalists that this isn't just totally made up mumbo jumbo. And really anything else. I like to have a page of things where it's just like, don't misspell this, or like, don't get these facts wrong. Like the amount of salt that people have said in float tanks is all over the place. It's really incredible.
We also usually include a couple free floats in our press kits. You know, that's a little bit harder to do right now, but it's still something that you can include and they could try out in the future. But just a good way to, you know, if someone actually is really into it, you know, there's no better way to learn about it than actually coming in. So including some amount of floats for them to come try it out is not a bad thing to have in there.
For sure. You know, again, if this is in the future, so be it. A little pro tip on that too. If you're going to include one free float or you want someone to come in and try something, give them 2 floats instead. You know, like 1 float is enough to take them away from their friends or their family or, you know, social time they get. And 2 floats is enough that they can actually bring someone in with them and like include their kids or include their family along with it, which is nice.
The other just kind of general advice we have about the content of what you're including is try not to make your entire story just about you and your business. Like, think about the last time you read an article in anything that was just like, this business is such a cool business and the owner is really handsome and like, it's just like, that's not the type of thing that people are interested in. So, you know, you want to write something that sounds probably like an actual news article. You know, don't just have it be boasting about what's going on with you or all about you. Like, have it be somehow relevant and provide some sort of value outside of just mentioning your business.
Yeah, reporters have this pesky thing called like journalistic integrity, and they don't just want to write huge fluff pieces for businesses. Most of the time, you know, there is often like a local business kind of section of your paper, and you can get little blurbs in there, but often the better approach is to, make yourself part of a bigger topic, or make your float center or floating in general, and by extension you, kind of part of this much broader appeal. You know, I guess the kind of last big piece of advice, just to get your head in the game going into this right, is it's a numbers game. Like, don't expect, if you have like a certain magazine that you want to get an article in, don't expect that just by reaching out to them, you're going to get an article in there. It's in fact really hard to, if that's your goal, is to just get like a specific kind of piece written in a specific media publication to get that done. So, you know, here in Portland, we have about like a list of 50 different media publications, kind of like the 50 biggest ones from, you know, our big kind of local papers, state magazines, local travel magazines, college papers, radio, college radio, blogs, popular podcasts, really just like anywhere that people are consuming media and finding out about, you know, especially things that are happening in Portland. And for us, that ended up being about 50 different sources. And from that, you know, like planning on going through that entire list and contacting them is what you're going to have to do, and not just once, which we'll get into a little bit. You know, and the other option is hiring a PR professional, in which case they're going to be doing all of that outreach and kind of tapping these people on the shoulder and trying to get blurbs written for you and longer news pieces. And I guess we won't go too much into hiring a PR professional. I mean, basically you hire them and then they do their job, and hopefully you get PR.
And they don't have to listen to us anymore.
Yeah,
which is great.
But I will say there are really good PR professionals out there, and there are really bad ones. You know, we've heard of float centers who are spending, you know, $5,000, $7,000 on a PR person who's getting them in like publications all over the place. or people spending the same amount of money and they got like 2 tiny articles in local papers and that's it, right? So do your research, like vet these people out. Don't just let them sneak under the radar or trust what they say. Like they're PR professionals, right? You can't trust them.
We did make a little list of some potential kind of topics about how to present your float center that are maybe somewhat relevant to what's going on in the world. A good one is always that floating is a great way to deal with stress and anxiety. You know, of course, there's high levels of stress and anxiety in society right now, and having some sort of sources for relieving that at the other end of this is definitely something that could be very valuable to people.
Yeah, and along with that too, you know, consider doing some kind of angle on what people can do right now from home to relieve some of that stress and anxiety. Obviously, that's a really big topic right now, and as people are getting kind of more and more cabin fever, you are an expert in this field, right? Like you're an expert in isolation, A, relaxation, B, and like doing nothing in a really pleasant way. So, C, if you lost track of the lettering, there's the letter. Right? So figuring out some kind of angle on that and maybe writing a piece based around this idea of anxiety reduction. And then have some quotes from you in there. Be like, hey, local, you know, float tank center owner says this about relaxing by yourself. Or like, here's some methods you could do from home. And you can kind of inject your float center again. You might not even mention it in the first 4 or 5 paragraphs or 2 or 3 paragraphs of the piece. And then bam, you know, after that, you just come in with a nice little quote by you back to the main story. That's a great way to think about inserting yourself into something like that.
I actually wrote my own list of kind of edgier topics that I thought might get some more attention right now. So number 1, salt hoarding, the secret truth of the float tank industry and what you need to do about it. So that's one that you can use.
Do you have a number 2, or are you just going to
I'll
sprinkle
pepper
them in?
them in, yeah.
Okay, great, perfect. I like this. The impact of being shut down as a small business owner. We actually know at least one float center that's already gotten some media around this, and they reached out to their local press specifically and you know, wanted to do a little interview and talk about that, and yeah, got a piece written about the impact of all of these closures on small business and just kind of his take on it as a small business owner. So definitely not a bad way to go. If you do have relationships with other small businesses in town as well, consider again making your piece yourself part of this broader story. Have quotes from them and just kind of do a couple little interviews, and you know, again, you can be one of the contributing business members who's talking about what it's like to be a small business that's closed. But you can also have, again, just more sources, so it doesn't seem like you're doing this big fluff piece just on yourself. Ashkan.
Let's see, I got here, are float tanks secretly filled with whale tears? Why this is absolutely true, and it's actually more heartwarming than you think. That's another one.
It sounds silly, but the media actually do love titles like that. That one was barely a joke. I see you have those in the good category on here.
Yeah.
And you put all of mine in the bad category.
I have a great category too that we'll get to.
All right. Another one is the rising tide of meditation around the world. Again, you know, you can play off of the relaxation angle. You can play off of immune system boosting. You can play off of just general health and wellness and mindfulness. But either way, float tanks are kind of like the most hardcore version of like isolated meditation or forced meditation or meditation on training wheels. I'm just giving you some kind of hyperbolized little ways to think about this for the media. But talking about meditation in general, and then again, fitting float tanks into that, and then fitting, oh yeah, also there's a float tank center in this area, here's what the owner has to say about it, into that bigger story. Another good one to think about. Ashkan.
I got here, global economy has decided that float tank centers are the safest asset in the world. Everyone should store all of their money in them.
Like physically in the float tank?
Physically, digitally, emotionally, whatever form of currency you have.
A bold claim.
Yeah, I didn't say it. I mean,
also,
news.
Good tip, if you do go with these, make sure to put fake citations in there. The press loves seeing citations. Okay, this is kind of like the last one that I had, just to, again, prime the pumps. Increase in screen use and the need to disconnect. There's tons of stories coming up about that all over the place. Like I can barely log on my computer without reading about how I shouldn't be logged on to my computer right now, you know? You know what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah, I was paying attention
Yeah.
to this.
You following along? I put nudge Ashkan, make sure he laughs so that the audience knows they should laugh. There we go. Right, but especially while people are stuck at home. We are probably stuck in front of our computers, more of us, than we're used to during our normal lives, and we're used to being stuck in front of screens a lot anyway. So, as someone who runs a business that isolates people and takes them away from that, again, talking about how it is important to get away from screen time, and it is important to do other things, and maybe it's even important to do nothing at all, or as much nothing as you can get wherever you are. Ashkan.
Okay, last one I have here is, will the rest of your life be horrible and painful if you don't start floating a bunch as soon as Float Center is back open? Find out tonight.
Good. I like the call to action there at the end.
Yeah, those are important. You got to put those in there.
We call those...
What are people going to do tonight, you know?
Okay, you got any more?
That's it. Yeah, those are all the ones I came up with.
Okay, perfect. Those are good too. I
That's why they're in the good category.
They were good. They were good. All right. There's some ideas. Of course, you'll have to write all the content to those, regardless of which headlines you go with, the good or the great, or the mediocre. And I guess I just wanted to leave you with some pro tips as well, since we're pros and we have the tips written in bullet point form, which should be fairly easy for us. You know, I mentioned it above, but if you aren't going with a PR agent, if you're actually following through with trying to do all of this PR outreach on your own, you know, you could get lucky. It's kind of like hoping to win a relatively small lottery. And, you know, you could just send out one or two little emails and get responses back and actually get some press written. But more often, this requires a fair amount of consistent outreach, and you won't hear anything back on the other side. So just don't let that be discouraging. Like, of that list of 50 people we have, we'll reach out to them like 4 to 6 times, every single one of them. And over 90% of them, we just never even hear back. Not even to say, like, hey, stop emailing us, we're not interested. It's just radio silence. And even if they go to publish your article, and most often that'll just be a copy-paste of your press release into their piece and they change the author's name, they won't even let you know that that's what they did. Like, they don't reach out to be like, hey, thanks for that press kit, we're publishing your article. Like, so one of your customers will wander in one day and just be like, oh, I really liked your article in so-and-so magazine. And you're like, what? And you look it up, and sure enough, yeah, there's your press kit with someone else, or press release with someone else's name on it. So, again, it's a numbers game. You won't hear anything back. Even if you're successful, you won't hear anything back.
And just getting a couple, like 1, 2 things printed, I mean, I think is a pretty decent success for, like, we're not gonna like do a media blitz as a Float Center and like be, you know, the thing that everyone's talking about for the day. Like, that's just kind of unrealistic. So just being able to get your name out there, and a lot of times some of this does carry some amount of momentum. Like, an article published in one place could lead to some other publication getting interested and wanting to write something up as well. So yeah, the more you're kind of rolling things, the more you can get something out of it. But any sort of response is definitely a kind of great success in terms of what you're going for here.
And again, yeah, don't even treat no response like they're not interested. They're just busy, and they might think they're not interested and then realize they are later and come back to it and look more into floating and decide they do want to do a piece on it. So again, all of this is to say, like, it is a numbers game, and don't be discouraged when, like, you get no response from your first round of outreach.
Nice. We had someone in the comments say that they're a half yoga studio and doing live stream yoga sessions. Yeah, stuff like that is great too. Like, anything that you're doing to manage to still bring your service out in an altered way, you know, given the reality of the situation, is really interesting and relevant to what's going on right now.
We did a live stream inside the float tank yesterday. You know?
Yeah, huge news. Really big news. It's a whole sports podcast about it.
So as float tank owners, you know, just like they're helping with yoga, you can kind of live stream the float experience. You could even just broadcast a black screen.
We're pretty sure this live stream is, I mean, it's going to be in the New York Times pretty soon. Pretty soon here.
Local business owners donning bathrobes as Corona crisis shuts down world. You can use that headline too. There's another one for you. Yeah, and I'd say of our outreach, when we do reach out to this list of 50 people that we have, like often we'll get around 10% of those actually do something with it. So it's a really low percentage, probably even less than that a lot of times. But for again bugging every single person 4 to 6 times, we might end up with like 3 or 4 publications that publish just our tiny little press release blurb, and then maybe like one that actually reached back out and did an interview, and we get like a slightly longer piece. It's rare that we don't hit at least one of those too, but that's much more like the whatever that is, like 2% of people, or for us 1 in 50 will actually like reach back out, and you kind of like caught a big fish, So yeah, just to give you some baseline for our kind of level of success when we're doing that.
And every once in a while, I mean, it works great. Like we many years ago got an actual like cover story in one of the big weekly newspapers here in town. So
yep, and that got picked up, and like the exact thing got carried in the Utney Readers. So we got like a 2-page spread in there and on their website. Yeah, we've had like The Nation pick us up and do like a cover article on floating. So
it can happen.
Yeah, occasionally you just hit it really big, but again, yeah, it's just like gambling in a small lottery. Like that day will come, but you can't guarantee that it's going to happen every time.
Yeah. So to recap, be sensational.
Don't be afraid to lie. Yeah.
Yep. Any sort of nefarious activity you could be up to at this point, really great for getting your name out there. And, consider starting your own newspaper if none of this works. Then you can have as much coverage as you want.
I think those were the main things, yeah.
Yeah, it sums it up, really.
Let's see, we had some nice comments, but as we wait for the live stream to actually buffer and catch up with what we're saying, feel free to ask questions in the meantime. Just go through some of these. Breaking news, people love us. That's what the comments say. Yep. More people just praising us, people saying you'd be a fool to not be watching this live stream right now. That's good.
Yeah. Oh, someone got a tattoo of our faces on their chest.
Again?
Yeah.
I feel like it's like every day now.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up.
Send over the pics, and yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. This is fun.
Did we have something else to say about, are we releasing a home video today?
Oh yeah, done. Out.
We released a home video today.
We do, yeah, every weekday. Usually right before we go live for the live stream, we've been releasing a helm tip or trick or of the day.
Yeah.
They're all treats. So go check it out. Today's is actually, it's a really simple one, but pretty important, especially if what I'm about to say does not make any sense to you, which is booking versus calendar mode on your mobile and desktop views of the helm. If you didn't know this, there's different ways that customers can book online. One's a menu and one's a calendar. Spoilers. But yeah, go check it out. If you're not familiar with that, this shows you how to adjust those and just some settings you might want to think about.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time. Oh.
And same place.
Yep, our kitchen table, what is this? Dining room.
Yeah.
I said living room during the last live stream.
We kind of live in every room now. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks again, everyone.
Have a good one. Big 10 tomorrow. Double digits.
Or single if you write it with a X, Roman numeral.